ahead and start the recording. Okay, well, it is Jamie's birthday, so I was going to start us all out with a little happy birthday. Anybody want to sing? All right, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vivian. Happy birthday to you.
Wow.
It's all on different broadband
delays, the Zoom delay.
Wow. I have never had a Zoom delay in singing before today. It's so good. Okay, so we have to do round robins really quick because I have a lot of content for you today. If you are taking notes, you're going to want them. You're going to want a kind of notes that you can draw on. We are doing a group activity today, so you'll be using your chat bar a lot. So give yourself a place and a time to kind of chat, because we're going to put out a concept and then you guys are going to be putting in your ideas in the chat box. And then as those things come up, you'll be responding to them and putting other ideas, and then I'll kind of meld them together. I have some advanced concepts today. So you'll get some back. For those of you who have taken other classes, you'll be like, oh, that's how that connects. Oh, that's how that connects. So in your introductions, don't forget, put your name and address or contact information in so that people that are new can come in. We always have latecomers, so they do scroll. So Mike was the first one here. So Mike, give us your update. You had so many great things. You had commissions last time, lots of things going on.
Yeah, I finished that commission and the client was very happy. And then I'm broaching on these appreciation parties that we're supposed to do, where I invite people to a Zoom meeting real quick. They're like 2 or 3 minutes, and just come up with something that I appreciate. And then I'm not trying to sell or anything. It's just like planting seeds or appreciating your past clients and stuff. So.
Oh, I love this.
But it's kind of scary.
It sounds very interesting.
It's kind of scary. I'm not kind of introvert, not real. But I think, it's a main, it makes sense. It's something pretty rational. But in my mind, I'm like thinking they're going to be like, why is he doing this? What, But everyone likes to be appreciated. So that everyone feels good.
Well, I like that. As I think I'd love to see the group talk about that a little bit today, because I think there's a lot of really unique ways you could use that idea. I mean, bravo to you on using Zoom differently, on connecting with your customers differently. I would say that's very innovative, very innovative.
Can I throw one idea in here? Because I looked up Mike's art, which is really incredible and recognizable. I've seen it before. And this is really easy to add your background to Zoom. If we want a little tutorial at some point, you should have a piece of your art in the background because it's great. And it just is, it's just every time you're on, they know immediately what your art is. Because, the first meeting we were on, the first hour, until after the meeting or late in the meeting, I looked it up. So just saying. You have beautiful stuff. Yeah. And that goes for any of the artists. It'd be really a good idea to promote yourself discreetly. Thanks.
Right. Yeah. Mike, it's a great tip. It's a great tip.
And I'm building a new website using Fossil, which is a company that sells to artists. They have 25 different stencils, but it's easy. It's very clean. And then they also have their own marketing that they include in the package and stuff.
Good. Well, welcome to class.
Because I had a really, I don't like my WordPress website. So
No, it's WordPress is getting, I don't know. I'm not going to discuss those, but yes, I think lots is changing in that place. Sandy, give us your quick update.
Hi. So I'm just working, just getting some listings ready to go on the market. One in Southwest Minneapolis is going to go on coming soon Friday, and then it'll be available to see on the 11th. So working on that. And let's see, I have another, Brooklyn Center. I have another one coming up in Brooklyn Center that'll go on the market Monday. So those are listings that are coming up very soon. I'm having trouble staying focused on the big things that I need to do. So many calls, texts, emails, people contact you through Facebook messaging, and it's like you feel like you need to immediately get back to people, and it's keeping me from doing some of the important things that I need to do. So that's been challenging for me. So I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. Today I got up a little bit earlier than I usually.
That is good, but response, right? It's response.
Yeah.
And it's also, this is why autoresponders were created. Right? This is why autoresponders were created, to give and autoresponders with a timeline. I'm sure Michelle Berg has something to say on this concept about autoresponders in general, but
okay.
But there are other tools. And then of course, the tool I'm always going to give you is assistant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Andrew, it's very short that's his answer. Because he goes through this too. You go through this too.
Yeah, best thing ever happened to me. I don't know why I held off. You're always worried about the cost. We have a sharing system here in my firm with other advisors, so it really helps save on some of the costs. But they take all the busy work, or basically your non-revenue generating work, put it on them, and then you can focus, Sandy, on getting clients, seeing new clients, and getting new ones. And that's just been a total game changer. So it's like I say, you can worry about the cost, but if you use it right, you're going to get multiplier back on whatever you give them on it. And it should be worst case 5x, best case. I mean, you should get almost like 100x on it, just because if you're using them right, they can, like I said, take all that busy work off. And now it's like, hey, I got 5 more deals done just because I have time to do that. Your time is the most important thing you have. So pay someone else to do it, and then you can just focus on like the big stuff. And next thing you know, you go from here to here, because that's what I'm in the process of. It's just been awesome. In fact, I'm looking to be like, can I get more people? So yeah, right. You'll see a huge jump.
Yeah, I hired a second assistant this last week too. Mm-hmm. And so it's also sometimes looking at an assistant that only does that one thing.
Right.
And so that may be also just hiring someone that just manages communicate.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I have somebody that does marketing, and I don't think she'd be good at this. Right. Fire communication. She's very slow and deliberate, and but anyway, she's good at the marketing. I have another one who handles my transactions, but she's full-time assistant for 2 other agents. So she can't really handle more from me than like the transactions. So I give her as much as I can, but yeah, somebody to handle those communications, because mostly it's buyers calling me about houses, and I have to stop everything and look it up and see when it's coming soon and see when the offer deadline is.
Yeah. And so that's a real trainable task.
Okay. Yes.
And it's a totally different person. And
right.
And so like we have a bunch of events coming with my firm, and so I just had to hire an events coordinator. So right. you'll find somebody that can just do that task, that series of tasks.
Yeah. That's easy enough to do. You can train them to be kind of even for you, where it's like.
Sorry, it's noisy. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay, I had to mute Kathy. Okay.
Yeah, you can train them to even be a filter for you, to where it's like, are they just kicking tires, or is this something serious? Because then it's like, hey, if they start asking these questions, let me get you to Sandy right away. Other than that, just like, yeah, here's a response. There's just someone, they're just like, well, this property's open. Maybe they're not be too interested on it. And so again, now you have someone working for you to help out with that. But then also it's like, they can even help you on the front line. So it's like, yeah, let me get you on Sandy's schedule. So now you got someone basically doing your scheduling and marketing for you where you don't have to, where then it's like, I can go from this meeting to this meeting to this meeting to this meeting and just write down the line. And just like I said, just makes you more efficient because now it's like, wow, I went from closing 10 deals a month to now I'm doing 25. I mean, that's a big jump. So it's, like I said, Mickey and I are on the same page on this. It's, if you use them effectively, it just makes you a lot easier and your business just goes from here to there. It's just awesome.
Andrew and I have decided that all of our mentoring is going to be over pancakes.
Nothing wrong with that.
it really works for us.
Oh, it works well. It works well. And those Madeleines you gave me last time, Mickey, I have to thank you, but also blame you. They sell those at Costco.
Yes.
Oh, they're just.
I told you.
Too addicting. Too addicting.
I told you. Don't like. It was a nice gesture, but you know, as everyone here can remind you, can tell you that if I give you a little treasure, you'll love and hate me forever.
Yeah, my doctor wasn't too happy with them, so yeah, have to cut those out a little bit.
Yeah. You know, it's a wonderful world here. It's a wonderful world. Okay, Karen Carson, we don't ever get to hear you in the middle here. Give us your quick update.
Quick update. Well, I am right in the middle of getting ready for Tony Robbins' breakthrough. Well, I did the breakthrough. That was for free for 4 days, and I got worn out by that. So I'm taking his full one. It's 4 days. And I'll be looking at how he does it, Mickey, because it's very interesting. He's doing his usual, and I saw him in person years ago. He's a giant, you know, he's like Vincent. He's even taller than Vincent though. But yeah, he's very exciting. And so this new one that he's doing, he can only do by Zoom, because when he started, he could only do by Zoom. So he went in big, like, you know, he's has this big Zoom studio in his house now that has hundreds of screens.
Yeah.
So that he can see everybody. So he's doing it very well. But the 4 days that he's actually doing the seminar are all day long on Zoom. And I'm like, really? Yeah. So it'll be interesting. He said it's a like a 12-hour day from 9 in the morning till 9 at night on Tony time.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Donna Birch is taking it with me, so she's my accountability partner.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, anything that you can do to bring more money to our lives is always great.
Well, you know, it's really interesting about him and money. He has 105 companies and he has lots of money, and you can tell. Didn't cost him, cost him $10 million to do the studio thing that he's done at his house, all the electronic equipment and all of that. So I think he's going to be doing both at the same time later, not now, but later.
I think it's great. It's great. Well, thanks for being our Zoom guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to apologize to everyone for your getting the wrong link the first time. But when I do the Eventbrite thing, I copy my last one, so I have everything current, and I pasted in the right link, but I forgot. I evidently didn't save it. So if you all went to the February mystery meeting, I'm sorry.
It works out great. Okay, Michelle, give us your quick update.
I kind of shared what I've been working on. I have about 10 website projects that I'm in some level of development with. So that's been keeping me busy. Plus people have had a lot of updates. That's about it, really.
Well, welcome back to class. I always like it. You're going to like today's topic.
Yeah, I was glad it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Marge, give us your quick update.
Hi, I just had to unmute. So I've had so much going on because I finished Founders Institute. So I've graduated from Founders Institute. And what that is, thank you. What that is a group. It was out of Silicon Valley. And so everybody else is somewhere warm. It was all ages, but mostly younger people that are doing startups. And most of them are tech startups. But it's to get my business from more of a lifestyle business to be the multi-million-dollar company it should be, and at some point. And so that's my Easy Light Wraps, and that's behind me here. And the Houseware Show is next week, so I'm going there. I have an intern through Founders Institute. I have an intern from San Jose, and I did a new Shopify site, and she is got experience with that now, so she'll be able to make some corrections and help me with that. I have a new marketing guy that's working on my email automation and getting on Amazon, although I'll probably wait. I'm a little nervous about that, but we'll get it set up. I have to tell you, I mean, this was pretty thrilling because I have that farm. I had my delivery from China of brackets, the shade behind me, these brackets, 10,000 brackets, and they didn't call ahead, and it wasn't plowed on the big barn. But guess what? I have a second barn, and I don't care if it looks shitty to most people, but to have the space to store a pallet of goods in 2 minutes is like freaking amazing, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that? Because I spent 2 years with my garage and my house filled with stuff and, boxes coming and going and not being able to park inside. So that was very exciting. Yesterday, my daughter, she was freaking out because wasn't where they were prepared to go, couldn't go because of the snow. And it's like, Liz, we have this other barn, just put it there. So anyway, things are really on a roll. I've got to say things are going well, and it's always exciting, and I'm always behind. So,
but no assistance. I love the staff, and I love the Founders Institute.
And Raven, oh my God, and Raven's been just a dear, and I think this is just fabulous. She's helping me on Instagram. She's doing the Instagram stuff. So,
yeah.
Thanks so much for Raven.
We will give her some kudos.
And my one last thing is I got a really nice Hosta magazine from Mills, from Jennifer. Is it Jennifer Mills?
Oh, Janet Mills.
Janet.
Yes. And I meant to post about that because it's so beautiful. And I'm so excited about more hostas at the farm. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, definitely post about that.
Yep.
Definitely post about that. Okay, Andrew, give us your quick check-in.
Man, 2022 has been great so far. Should hit, I'm kind of ahead of my goals right now, which is a great feeling. Just got some great commitments here in the last 2 weeks. So literally every day is exciting when that happens. Last year's best year ever. I'll probably have that done by April.
Oh, hold on, let's just clap right there because Andrew has been working his tail off.
Yeah. Kind of what we're talking about with Sandy is having like the staff on it just freed up a lot of time for me to go market a lot and got into a lot of great relationships, a couple of really good business networking groups, which has been fantastic. And, I generate a lot of just referrals working with a lot of my clients. Well, now a lot of those referrals are turning in referrals back, which is very fun. And just kind of excited to see where the day goes, because usually most of the time usually good things happen just out of the blue. Someone contacts you, which is not probably a recommended marketing strategy to hopefully someone out of the blue comes to you, but that's the way it's kind of been going. And as long as you just do good work and do things that client centric, good things seem to happen. So it's like yesterday I got introduced to like 3 bank presidents. And so it's like, well, I got some deals for them on some financing, but 2 or 3 banks don't have any sort of financial planning type pieces and whatnot. And so it's like, hey, well, I can bring you, you know, $1 million, $1.5 million worth of loans going out, which is a lot of money to a bank. It's like, hey, if I'm doing this for one client, what do you think I can do for yours, and where you get revenue out of? So it's got some exciting conversations coming up. So
those are very exciting. And we're having breakfast soon. I can't wait.
I know. It's that's like I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen every day. I got a great new client meeting today with a nice marketing firm in Bloomington, and just got hired by a jewelry shop in Mall of America. It's like the client levels are still good, but they're kind of, you know, now before it's like, well, 500,000, $1.5 million. Well, now they're going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 million in revenue, which is a lot more, you know, it's fun on it. It's just
it's a lot more complex.
But yeah, but it's really cool. So I'm excited.
Commercial, Andrew, does that mean you do commercial? Because I'm a realtor too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mainly.
No, he's not a realtor. He's a business advisor.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
I do.
That's what I wasn't following that when he was talking about Sandy and then doing the different businesses. So, okay.
Yeah, I do business financial planning for it with a lot of tax analysis or tax strategies, debt strategies, business entity planning. And then, yeah, I do retirement plans, investments, insurance, the whole shebang. But it's really that taxes and debt item that gets kind of my foot in the door. And then once you, like, I'll give you an example of this one jewelry store. It's like, I did 2.4 million in revenue last year. I looked through his financials. I'm like, there's 35,000 in tax savings right here that you're not doing. And which is, you know, I think I charged him like $5,000, but it's like, oh, okay, $5,000 to save 25. But then I was also able to find him because he has a hard time accessing getting capital. But I was actually get a couple of bank connections where it's like, here's you know, I can pay off your existing debt, lower that rate, but here's a 250,000 of additional capital that he can use to go get inventory, which this guy came from the pawn shop world. He knows how to flip that really easy. And so how much is that 250,000 worth of capital worth? He's like, man, I'll probably be able to, you know, get 700 to maybe $1 million in additional revenue just from that access to capital. So now I'm thinking like I should charge him more than $5,000 on it, but that's the value you can bring. Where it's like I can get from here to here, which is like if I get this capital and then I can turn and sell it. His ultimate goal is he wants to open up a second store in another mall, and so it's like, you know, being able to come in, identify one, here's some money that you don't know what you have that you can utilize, but now we can repurpose for something else. But then here's some other ways where you can get some additional money that you can use to go further along. And that's really cool to me. It's like, hey, I was hoping to
talk after
store in 5 years in one.
Let's meet later so we're back on track.
Yeah, no worries.
I
geek out on it.
So I can in the chat box. And Andrew, I definitely want to talk about that when you and I are together, because I have some old lady advice for you.
Oh,
you know, everybody loves old lady advice of like, oh yeah, I've been there. Let me show you how it works.
I get another drink from the Fountain of Mickey. I love it. So yeah.
Okay, we are gonna now. I'm gonna ask everyone else to be fast because we have a lot of content today. Donna, give us your check-in.
Great, thanks. Donna McCurdy. My business is Nido Tree, Playful Art, and the product is Soccer Birds. And just been doing a lot of nuts and bolts kind of stuff, just, you know, and excited about the Minnesota Aurora coming to town, the women's professional soccer team. So interesting to feel the difference between like approaching a women's team versus approaching a men's team. Not that that should be a big difference, but it does. It is. It feels very different. It feels easy to think about, you know, approaching them. So that'll be fun. I'll let you know.
All right, keep going. Please put all your stuff in the chat box. Danny, give us your fast update.
So my assignment with my current job ended on Monday, and I'm focusing on getting to Europe right now. But the coolest thing I did was I created this. This is a library passport for Ella. So when we travel, we stop at different libraries, and now we'll be able to get their officially worn out stamp and then the librarian's name and their favorite book.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I brought it up to friends, and I have like 25 orders to fill now on them.
I love this as an Etsy product. I love this as an Etsy product.
And this one, I colored this while I was bored working, and I just stuck it on the, looks like a passport cover.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to let also people respond to that in the chat box, because I think you guys have a lot of ideas. Jamie, and give us your fast update. And then Kathy, we're going to polish off with you.
Okay, hello?
Hello.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, well, y'all gotta wait a second. I gotta get my update. Okay, my update is work is crazy busy right now. I have these goals that Mickey that has me meeting, and I you know what's crazy is I asked for this life, and even though the stressful days are becoming even more stressful, I'm very, very thankful for them. I'm actually finding like time to date myself and sleep and take some naps and stuff like that, which is crazy because I'm even more busier than I've ever been. We're just started to work on this festival that I won last year from the Knight Foundation. So I have $100,000 to put on this amazing festival in Charlotte, down this west end of that's had extreme gentrification, which we're trying to hold on to the historic Black businesses and stuff that are there. And so we started that this week on top of our investment group and stuff. So it's just busy for me right now. And yeah, so that's where I'm at.
and I'm going to quickly just remind everyone that, again, the dating yourself piece for you was a big deal. And out of that has come this enormous amount of what appears from the outside to be just growth, just joy. Is that true? Am I reading it right?
There has been joy. I've been able to deal with like the times that aren't as joyous, like as far as work goes, but yeah, joy with me, because I think I don't do a lot of things because either I don't have people to go or I don't have the time to do it. So just finding the time to do it and intentionally putting it in my schedule and then executing that, then I'm like, oh, this was so cool. You know, like I ate an 18 karat gold piece of oyster and like just how amazing that was. And I've waited all my life to eat 18 karat gold. Not that it was amazing, but I waited all my life to do that. Like for what? And so, yeah, there's definitely the joy that's coming from that. And then in essence, it makes me a little bit more productive in accomplishing the things that I need to accomplish for work.
Yeah. Okay, definitely put in some of the details on the side. For the new people, we're going to want to see your details and so forth. Kathy, let's go to you real quick. And then Reggie, we're going real fast, so we'll do you right after Kathy. Welcome back.
Good morning. Good morning. Everything's good. I'm living my best life. Like I just can't even believe how much joy is in my life. I'm filled with abundance. I had my best month ever. In fact, when I looked at the numbers, I cried. I was so unprepared for how good this month was going to be, especially coming off of the month before where I was like, wow, I'm doing really good. I'm surprised. Next month won't be that great. The universe just continues to give me exactly what I'm asking for, and I'm so grateful.
Good, good. Well, that is fantastic news. Please put your stuff in the inbox. And again, reminding people that you can have a steep incline of income upwards. You know, it doesn't always have to be a terrible hill to climb. Reggie, give us your update. We're glad to see you back. Are you with us?
Unmute. He has to unmute.
You have to unmute. Oh, maybe he's doing something. Okay. Well, Reggie, when you're back with us, let us know. We definitely want to hear what you have to say. So we can also kind of send him a private note as well. Okay, I'm going to start screen sharing.
He's connecting to audio. So.
Oh, he's connecting. Okay. Reggie, whenever you're with us, just jump in. Okay, so today we have a lot of content, so you will want to take notes. There is a lot to do here. I have to make you guys smaller to get to my screen. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So when we look at today, we have, again, learn by example. That's what we're there to do. This was a very interesting class. We did send you journal topics. I will put them at the very end of this. Usually I put them at the beginning. We have this idea of learning by example and doing some other pieces of business planning here. So for those of you who have taken other classes, the reason that I'm trying to get into our content so quickly is that this is actually a 3-hour session. So when this, if you like it in the shortened version, you'll love it in the longer version. And the longer version has a lot of just time on the board, right? Small group, and we can kind of work it through. So we're going to be working our small group in our chat box. And so you're going to want to just allow your brain to free form during that time, because chaos theory is very unique. So these are my own ideas. This is what you get from me having worked so many years in the field and on so many businesses. And it is the chaos theory of ideation. So when we are looking at that, you're gonna, you gotta get it here, because it's not written out there. It's not like you can go back and go, oh, hey, how do I do this out there? This is private content that was created for you. So when we look at that conversation, it is sometimes a small thing can make really great consequences, positively or negatively, right? And so I'll give you an example of something that's positive or negative, right? We talked instantly about autoresponders, right? Something very small makes everybody go, oh, you know, whew. And the other side to that is having an autoresponder that's a machine when you're trying to call somebody and you want to talk to a real person, right? That's where it's really negative. So when you look at ideation, this is really in chaos theory, specifically for rapid growth. That is what I specialize in, is rapid growth. You guys have seen that 1,000 times. You are that. You are that. The key item that we want to talk about here is the difference between provocative and prosperous. So provocative isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you know, it's sexy. That's provocative, sexy. And provocative, when you find an idea provocative, it's usually an invitation to a feeling, right? Like, I want to feel this, right? And sometimes that's really helpful in ideation. But when you look at strategies that are actually going to stay long-term, you have to make that maneuver to prosperity. It has to be magnification. And we also have some real specific advanced concepts around magnification. And the way that we do magnification when I'm doing private calls with you, or when we have some of these real on the board conversation, it is that you are aligned to something greater and that you're transmitting in that alignment. So, you know, getting ideas around creativity, getting ideas around your values. We do a lot of values work in this class. So again, we're looking for magnification. The definition of prosperity is the ability to multiply. It is magnification. And we're saying, look, here's the advanced concept, is that you're aligned and transmitting. And here is kind of where these two sections come together. It is being dialed in, tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And this is where you have the chaos theory. It's connecting to a fluctuating pattern. It's to the ebb and the flow of energy. And then the prosperity section of this, right, is the alignment of resources and actions. And sometimes your resources can look like a lot of things. So right here, if you're going to just screenshot, this is the one you're going to want to screenshot. And you can always go back and watch these, but this is where I would screenshot today's piece so that you can look at it later. And I will show this slide again. We learn by examples. That's one of the things that this makes this introduction when we first get here is so important, is because it is the building blocks of inspiration. You guys learn from each other, you play off of each other, you root for each other, right? But when we look at chaos theory, it's that these are building blocks that might not look like they go together. They might not exactly connect, but there's something there. There's something there. So when you see that, right, they are the innovation, right? Building blocks guide innovation. And here's the point I want you to screenshot out of here is because something gets built, it automatically, energetically allows an eligibility of another thing to be built. Not that they have to connect, not that they are that, but because you build one thing, now you have the availability of another, right? So because YouTube was built, now for those of you who are listening to podcasts and streaming and all these other things, because it was built, now there became the eligibility of the next set of things to be built. Not that YouTube had to build that, but it became the idea that allowed more things to happen. So when we look at building blocks, they often are things that guide a palette of ideas that are alike but different. So if we go to Andrew's business planning, right, that having a building block in there of taxes built him and allowed him in theory to take an entire palette of ideas and attach them to tax advice or tax planning for business. And even though he's not a tax consultant, but he is someone that says, here's the thought bubble of taxes, and here's the palette of ideas that are alike but different. The other thing about building blocks when we're talking about chaos theory is sometimes it's about voice and tone. So when we look at that, a voice and tone, it is, and yeah, Mike, this is a good one for you as well, because that is, how do you talk about something? What does it look like? So when we look at the idea of school lunch, sure, we've got school lunch, but then we also have, right, this amazing program that was invented by a single person who just went, hey, I'm going to raise money to pay off all these kids' school lunch debt, right? That was a famous person from here. Then we also have another person who said, hey, why don't we use all these little libraries and we'll just start putting food in them, canned goods, so that people can just get food if they're in their neighborhood without having to focus on a food shelf. They don't have to build something else, right? They can just create a voice that just has a different tone. And you don't have to ask a question, you don't have to fill out a form. You can just go, hey, why don't you go down and check that little library and see if there's some food down there. Another thing about voice and tone is, right, how do we talk about a concept of not just necessarily being hungry, but what about somebody who just needs to be cheered up and is maybe having a hard time or has lots going on? And that's where the lasagna pan program came from, where you can go online and you can sign up to deliver someone a pan of lasagna, and just to cheer them up, just to let them know that someone's thinking about them or that they may be having a hard time. You get to kind of tell that story, but you can sign someone up to have a pan of lasagna delivered to them at no charge that someone else will make. And they will text them and say, hey, you're on the lasagna program. You're on the lasagna program. Do you want us to deliver a lasagna to you? So that has a very different voice and tone on the subject of, right, how do we help each other? How do we help each other around the conversation of food? So when we look at chaos theory, whoops, well, there we go. Sometimes chaos is a very noticeable idea that is now turned in a new direction. And people who see that wider directive of thought often feel like this is uncomfortable. So when we look at the current very basic idea is called gender, right? Gender is seeing a much wider conversation of thought. And for some people, that feels very clouded and very difficult to surf. And for other people, it actually just gives it a wider directive of thought that makes it a lot easier to get through the world. So chaos is also sometimes, how do you look at it? What are you seeing? And that is one of the other ways I would think about that. Integration of a new idea is actually what I find every business is good at, that they go, oh, I'm going to put that into my business. But it's the lowest life form of chaos. It is the lowest, easiest, smallest form. Where it becomes amazing is when it's done consistently over time in an evolutionary process. Andrew, I think this is actually where you are going to find the greatest piece. Kathy, I think that's actually, whoops, I'm gonna go back. I'm touching things. Kathy, I think this is actually where we're seeing your growth, is that you have taken single ideas and worked them in and constantly worked them in, and over time you're seeing a lot of change. And so when you start to think about chaos theory, even though it looks like it's a small thing, it's still actually a big thing. Nothing could identify Marge's world more than this, right? That it's saying, hey, I've got to integrate all of these things to make them more functional. So this would be a great kind of piece there, right? And again, I just kind of remind people about why that small idea and integrating it over time is because it's these small changes in your business theory, in how you are going to deliver service, in how you think about things that are going to give, right? I used the language specifically, right? They give rise to strikingly great consequences. I should have gotten a word point from Donna McCurdy on this. Of strikingly great consequences, positive and negative, right? Another kind of chapter heading in chaos theory and ideation are these bubbles of ideas. You probably have seen this in your own mind, where you get kind of a flurry of ideas and they're all kind of alike but different. It's like variants on a theme, but they all come up in like, and many people, they actually think like this. I actually think this is Jamian's secret, is that she gets a bubble and then like thousands of bubbles kind of pop up out of this one idea. I'd also see if Danny was like this as well, where they kind of get this bubble up of ideas and they kind of got to put them all down real quick. And because something will open a little spot in you, and then you get an enormous amount of ideas on that one thread. If you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, right? This would be an example of how Elon Musk's mind works, is in the chaos theory of ideation would be on him getting this bubble of ideas. And how do we kind of get that bubble to how do we capture it before it just floats away? The other chapter heading, right? This would be your topic of how do you create in chaos theory. These building blocks are also very layered. So it's one thing on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. So sometimes different than integration, which is saying, hey, I already have a business model and I'm going to put a new thread in there. Building blocks are really like layers of gum, right, that start to stick together. So Andrew, this is also going to be one in your business model. When Michelle, you build like this, This is how you build things, where you kind of take, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then I got to do this, I got to do this, where you start to go, what is the process that I have to bring someone through? What are the things that have to be in place? How does that happen? So the easiest way to think about that is something that has layers. For those of you who are gamers, you understand layers of ideation immediately. For those of you who have been in a mall, right? There's layers and layers of different stores. They all have different experiences. They're all individual things, but when you push them together, they make a mall. And a mall is very different than a store. And even a museum, right? If you go to a museum, they have different wings of things, but it is the culmination of them, all of those layers that make it an amazing experience. And now if we go back to museums, and what museums have changed is they've stopped being, right? What's their chaos integration? What have they changed drastically in the last 10 years? And they've stopped being a place where people just stay there and view from the outside. They have become an invitation, a provocative invitation, right, to an idea or a feeling for people to come in and participate in the creation of things, right? So they're doing a lot more events. They're doing a lot more of things that integrate someone else's experience to the experience that's being provided by the museum. So you have a lot more people doing art ins. You're seeing people go to the museum to draw. You're seeing the museum draw in people to have a conversation. You're seeing them bring in more layered programming so that people can have a greater attachment. So they're using that concept that we had in the slide with the eyelashes, right? Provocative. Let me invite you to something sexy, and then let me start to layer your experience, or, right? Or invite you to a bubble of ideas, right? So it's that piece, right? Of something that's small that gives rise to great things. This is the model we're going to be using today. And I think this is the reason that we're doing it as a group activity, is because it's actually the hardest to implement. If we were live in class in the 3-hour session, this would be the next two hours. We're gonna dedicate some time to it. I've got 3 examples for us to use today. So you'll be in the chat box a lot, but it's really saying, look, I got to take a new lens that I'm not used to using. And I'm going to take that lens like a camera over a moving landscape, and I'm going to allow it to build a new nucleus. And that nucleus is always you and your business. So when we're looking at this, I'm going to give you an idea that you are not normally planning from, right? We're going to give it a landscape that moves. It's got lots and lots of options to have as an answer. And that's where the chat box is coming in. And then you have to land it as your nucleus, as your business, in your ideas. And that's where this becomes a little bit magic. So when you're doing this at home, it's those of you who know how to do thought bubble exercises, that's where I would start, is to just go, here's the thought bubble, and I will illustrate those thought bubbles for you right here. Okay. So when you're putting in those thought bubbles, each bubble will be a place for you to expand. Today, the new lens I'm going to push everyone on is an economic reality. So this is an economic future that is being proposed. And then your nucleus is you. And these other bubbles are eligible to change. But you want, when you're playing with innovation, when you're playing to grow rapidly, when you have to think very differently, you have to have at least 5 touch points. So that's why it's the magic 5. And we'll mix them up later, but you have to have at least 5. So it may be an economic reality and an opposing economic reality. It may be the ability to scale. It can be these other pieces, but what is in there is not important. The only reason that it's an economic reality is that I had to land all of you in class in a location you don't normally solve from. And it's an easy one for everybody to attach to. When I take a breath and go, okay, well, what are you really doing? In chaos theory is that what's the invitation for you as the business owner, as the thought leader? The invitation is to take on the call to higher orchestration. It's to create something that is a greater piece. It's to take on what the museums are doing, right? That with their boards, and to say, we've got to change how people view just this view mentality and integrate it into something that's layered and has bubbles and has more of these other things that give a higher orchestration of relationship, a higher orchestration of ways for them to make money, a higher orchestration of them to be able to add staffing and jobs and experiences. And there's a lot more that you can do, and partnerships. So that is, in chaos, what I am inviting you to. And that invitation should set your brain on fire. Today's class should set your brain on fire, but it will also, it'll also challenge you to become rare, because it is rare that someone takes on this challenge. It is rare that people think in chaos theory. It is rare that someone understands that there's lots to add up here that can make something great. And it's rare to see someone understand all of the elements as they pertain to the world outside of their business, right? And that's when you go, wow, this person's a visionary. So if you've ever met somebody who's a visionary, this is the heart of their secret. Okay, so if you are, I'm going to pull this out of this, so I would definitely screenshot this. This is where we're going to start this idea, right? So I'm going to go back to, right, what are we doing, right? This is our new lens, and the lens that I'm putting on you is economic future, right? The moving landscape is the world that's changing, and then the nucleus is you. So those, if you write down 3 bubbles, that's where I think you are going to want that. And then, right, here is the economic reality. I'm going to go to Michelle, because I'm here. Can you read the question for the group? Without being on mute. Well, you're still on mute for us. You got to unmute.
Okay. I'm unmuted now. I have full screen, so I couldn't see everything. Okay. So what do you want me to read? The question?
Yeah, read the piece.
The statement?
Yep, the economic reality.
Economic reality check. 94% of business leaders expect employees to pick up new skills on the job. This is up sharply from 65% in 2018.
Okay, so now I'm going to let the group respond. Do you believe that's true? Yeah. You can throw that into the chat box if you want, however you want to do that. But again, right, do you believe that's true? That is what is proposed as the economic reality. Well, let me go back to that question. I'm touching things. Sorry, guys. Okay. Donna, read us the target.
Target, how to invite customers learning new skills into your business.
Okay. And can you give us that in another way to explain it? So reword the question.
I guess how I'm,
yeah.
So just like, I mean, I agree with that first statement that the employees would expect to pick up things on their job like that, like, of course. And so if I understand correctly, it's now saying, okay, we'll do that same concept for business customers.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to.
Never thought of that.
Right. So Kathy, I'm going to go to you because this actually is one that you and I have talked about in your business model before on vlogging. Can you read that target and tell me how it applies to you? Whoop, you're muted. Are you with us, Kathy? Nope, not hearing her. Okay.
I can take it, Nikki.
What?
Yeah, I can take that if you want.
What? Okay. So I'm going to stop share here for a second. Okay. Kathy, if you're here, we'd love to hear from you. But again, right, there's the question. 94% of business leaders expect employees to pick up new skills on the job. And then the target is, right, how do we invite customers to learn new things in your exact business model? And the other part of that conversation, right, is experience alone isn't going to help people in their careers. That there's more here. There's more here. They have to be better. So when we start looking in that chat box, how does a realtor, how does someone who's an inventor, how does someone who gives events, how do they, right? You're the nucleus. This is a changing landscape. How does your business give people an opportunity to learn more? And start typing it in. And I'm going to start typing in, right? So I'm going to give you guys the next 4 minutes to just type. And I will be typing as well. Okay, you still have 2 more minutes. Keep them coming. Okay, are you reading what other people are writing? So if you're not reading what other people are writing, go back in and just start reading those texts and see if they bring you to another place. You have 1 more minute. Okay, I'm gonna call it. Okay. Wow, good job. Good job. Okay, I'm gonna go to Sandy. What stuck out for you?
What stuck out for me?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunities in my business to educate my clients. I mean, it's kind of unlimited.
Right.
So just thinking how to, I mean, I used to do seminars regularly for a few years, and then I stopped it, and then COVID came, and I've maybe done 1 Facebook Live. But Facebook Live would be another way to engage people in a small conversation or a Facebook group that I created for people that are interested in real estate issues or a specific issue like landscaping or credit scoring or just anything like that. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can do.
Okay. And so now I'm going to push you a little bit, right? How does that impact an employee having a conversation with his employer? Right? How does what you bring to the table in your industry make someone more employable? with additional learning. So there's your thought point. Okay. There's your thought point. Because that was the economic future. You have to think towards an economic future. That's where I'm going to push everyone today.
Okay.
Okay. So Donna, I put a cheat in here for you. Where did you go with your idea? How does what you've been building and the conversations that you have as your business bring more? Michelle, I'll call on you next.
I don't want to, I'm not wrapping my head around this entirely. Okay. And so, you know, and anything that's even the mention of chaos theory is like, oh, am I on the right call? Like, no. We don't approach things from chaos, you know, so I just don't have footing yet in this whole topic. Okay. And I meant to mention I'm working, so I have one eye on my, so I'm going to pass, Mickey, but I want to get there. I'm just not there yet.
Okay. Michelle, raise your hand.
Yeah, I was just trying to wrap my head around what you were saying with this being about making them more employable. So I can see where things that I do would support that. And I also acknowledge I'm not looking to work with people who are looking for a W-2 job. So is that still a goal of mine with my business model? I want to work with people, you know, who are...
It is a thought exercise.
Okay.
It is a thought exercise. It is not to say that the reason that this is hard is because it is. It is a thought exercise to take you and stretch you out of the way that you've been thinking and force you to even just consider a realm that is uncomfortable. That it could look like something different. So yes, that's why all of you are going, I don't know how to do this. That's the point. That's the whole point. Is to give you another way to see the experience. So again, I'm going to put up Jamie and go ahead.
I was going to say this is definitely the class for me because I work well in this. Actually, in the chaotic thought processes of creating for me, it gives me the ability to actually educate people. Sometimes in putting experiences together for people, I'm also doing it in a way of educating. I'm doing it in a way of, hey, you guys, I'm doing it in a way of educating people. And so, for instance, if they're eating something if I'm creating a grazing table, which is an experience, right? And they're interested, they don't know, there's just all this shit that's on the table. And I purposely don't put signs up and that type of thing is because I want to evoke people in this chaotic thought process that I created the food, and then for them to educate them in the way, which then ultimately creates them to be a return client because they want the experience of evoking how they felt walking in the room, the experience of how they felt tasting, and just the experience of learning about, oh my God, I just ate an oyster and thinking that it was a piece of chicken.
Right. I think when we look at some of the responses that you have, you guys are actually getting it. You are actually getting it. And so when you start to look at this other economic reality of that, there are a couple of things that are happening. So one, we are all having more free time, right? That there was a time when nobody thought a podcast was, how many of you have learned something off of a podcast, right? You've learned thousands of things that we have now made education a pastime. And what I believe will happen in that conversation is the expectation of someone having a hobby or something that they are deeply personally interested in will become an equal measure in someone's interviewing process, in their resume. That because I'm a costumer, that means something to my employability, right? That we are going to have individuals decide that they're going to claim all of these other things that they are learning as valuable experience to their employer. And I think you're going to see employers and HR take this on very differently. Any response to that? Marge, I can see your brain going.
Not directly to that last statement, but just that there is, I mean, to me, yes, this is a total gig economy now, and probably why I thrive in it, because I feel like there's, I mean, I see things every day, opportunities, and I really should just keep a list going on my phone of things people could do for jobs. If they just, I mean, I see it all the time. Like, and most of it, a lot of it is we turn to a service industry that, you know, doing things for other people. If you can find things you love to do and you do it well, you know, it just kind of grows and expands. And I do think, I don't know, it's hard to find people to do things that, and I've done all these jobs that I don't mind doing. I don't mind doing dirty work or anything, but I'm also old enough now that I have arthritis in my hands. There's so many things that I can no longer do that are more hands-on type of things too. Right. But not everything's hands-on, but I just feel like if you had a list, and there's so much learning just on YouTube and even I'm finding all kinds of things on Instagram just in scrolling, because we're going to add tips to our Instagram feed, right? And it's like, God, there's, you know, just things you don't even think of that other people are doing now. And because you are going to have to depend on, you can't depend on a company to be there for you anymore. And so it's got to be a different way on how all of this works, on how our insurance is set up, on how, you know, just so many things. And to me, having some variety is great. So I liked doing different jobs. Right. And not everybody does, but I think a lot of people need that, you know, you need stability, that you're going to have a paycheck. So, you know, how can you make that feel stable? You know, how can you have, but multiple streams of income will really help.
Well, you'll like the next question. So, okay. So here's the, Karen, go ahead, raise your hand.
Good. Well, I think it's been a very interesting 2 years, and it has fractured people.
It's too quiet.
Yeah, can you be louder?
I can be louder.
There.
How's that?
Yeah, much better.
The past 2 years has really fractured people. I have one client who's been working from home all this time and is afraid to go back to the office because she thinks she works so much better there. But the possibilities that not having to be in an office has opened up has really been, you know, I think earth-shattering, because bosses are finding out that people actually can work from home and not cheat on it, you know, that they are actually working. And so I think also the thing is that when one thing changes, everything changes.
Welcome to chaos theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say is that, sorry.
You know, if you have one thing that you changed in your life and you think that it's that, you know, that just that changed, well, you need to think again. People are trying to fit their lives back into the old frame, and it's not going to fit there.
It's not going to fit there.
You know, that you have to rethink.
Right. Andrew, I'm going to let you respond.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that, before it seemed like the owner was the only one who thought big, thought globally. And now it's like with the technologies, the advancements, social media, whatnot, the employers want the employees to think globally on it. So when you think of like TikToks and Snapchats and Reddit posts and whatnot, it's like, what's more ways, because we're getting so used to being able to do things by Zoom and do it not only in our local markets. It's like, hey, we can go really all over the world on it. So I want my employees to be engaged and think bigger so they can help do well, better for the company to help that grow. And so you're empowering them to like, hey, we're not just going to stick to, Burnsville or Minneapolis or wherever it is. It's like, hey, like I was talking with a client yesterday, he's like, he got some connection with a hop farmer. He works with breweries down in Tennessee. And it's just like, if it wasn't for the times like 2 years ago, it was like, there's no way we'd got this connection. But the fact that, we're going to, you want to call it gig based or more like, teleconference type environments, like, yeah, these are how these connections are being made now, because now the outreach is so much bigger and better. And that's what they want their employees to do. And so
it's accepted.
Exactly.
It's accepted.
It's now become common. It's the way you put it, Karen, it's the new normal. It's just like, this is how it's going to be done now going forward.
It is the new normal. So again, right, chaos theory is us taking an entirely new lens that kind of gives you a headache, right? That you go, I don't know how this applies to me, and forcing your mind to align to thinking completely differently. And that is the thought exercise. And to say, how does your business make someone more employable? Right? There's a different conversation. Or how does that do something differently? You don't think of that, right? So invite your customers to new learning. How does your business invite to new learning? And new learning, what does that mean to the larger scope of things? Okay, so I'm going to come back to our screen. I've got another one for you. That's on the gig economy. So we'll kind of get that big, right? Stated economic future, right? A gig economy undermines everything, right? Michelle, oh, I already made you do it. Okay, hold on. Donna, I'm going to have you read the target for us.
Target. How can someone in the gig economy be a sales generating partner to your business?
Okay, and I'm going to let you answer that because this is your question.
Sales generating partner. I mean, that makes me think of the wholesale end of things that I would like to bust into.
Sure.
Is that?
Yep, you're there. But now we're gonna do it a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, Marge, can you read out the stated economic future? Because this is your life.
Yes. So the other part, a gig economy.
Stated economic future, yeah.
Undermines the traditional economy of full-time workers who often focus on career development. And yeah, that's different than me. One thing I had that's totally off the wall, but with my shade business, I pay $10 every shade I ship. If I could ship, and they take less than 5 minutes to put up, right? So if I could find condo dwellers that have 50 condos in their building and do a door knock or advertise, and they get any orders get shipped right to them, and they put it up, and you're shipping 10 at a time for $20, that's $100 right there without even adding another margin to them.
Yeah.
That they could get paid $200 to sell, 10 shades in their building. You know what I mean? It's like there's places to add value with doing services, and but it does require some thought process. But you just kind of made me this generator.
And that's exactly right. How do I target that? So the stated economic future is saying, look, if we have all of these people who are employed, right, and they're all doing all of these little tiny tasks, that they actually won't focus on the deeper needs of career development. Do you agree with that or not? And you can just shake your head, yes or no. Do you think that that is a negative or a positive impact in the future?
To me, it's a positive.
Right.
Just learning by doing is part of it.
Right. Donna, I can see you dwelling on here.
I feel like I'm missing something, but I'll get it maybe the second time around. I'm sorry.
Just to answer the question, do you think that a gig economy undermines the life of a full-time worker because they're not focused on one career trajectory?
Meaning the gig economy person is not focused on a career trajectory.
Correct.
I think that, and that the gig and that the full-time worker is undermined, or the I just think there's a lot of people in the full-time that aren't, I mean, there's such a gamut of people in the full-time world that are interested in trajectory, that are not interested in trajectory. I'm one of those people, not interested in trajectory because I have my small business. So I just feel like there's a big gamut here, and I'm just not able to process this question.
We'll bring it to you. Mike, I'm going to go to you. You were a teacher. You were a teacher. Do you think that there is, and you're spanning, do you think that it changes someone?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of the gig economy are people who have side gigs. So they're using their jobs to supplement the real thing they want to be doing.
So you see it as a tool that is not taking away from the main?
Right.
Okay.
Or okay. Or maybe they see like 2 or 3 gigs equaling a full time. So they're learning something different from each gig. So they're building up to another point with each gig they get.
Okay. So
they're just now. Okay.
I'll use you as an example.
Go ahead.
How much time have you spent learning to paint?
Well, when I first started, it was a full-time thing. Because it took that long. But now it takes me less time to paint something. And now I'm understanding I need to spend at least half time on my business or developing something that a gallery just is not going to, deliver on itself.
Got it. Andrew, I'm going to go to you because this is going to really apply in your business model training.
Yeah.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, and this would be definitely industry specific on it, I think this helps the employee more than it helps the employers. As we've seen over the last about a year and a half, the great resignation, they're calling it. People have more availability to find out like, hey, I don't have to be in this company for 20 years to move up to levels I want to. I have access to information to go research other ones out so I can maybe zigzag my way up to the levels that I want to get without having to be an employer for a long time. And I think what we're starting to see is a side effect on that from businesses realizing like, hey, we have to start offering some new and innovative perks just so we don't have these people leave, and not necessarily it's all on compensation. So you're seeing things with like time off or like, hey, we cater lunches or have alcohol, happy hour Fridays in office on items. So I do think it helps for the most part, again, on the employee with it, which then, will matriculate to the employer to find out ways like, okay, how do I keep these people around now? So I don't think we're going to see too many people going forward that's going to be employed at a company for 40, 50 years. I think really it's going to be more like 4 or 5 years before they kind of move on to somewhere else if the company isn't growing with the, what's going on with the times.
Right.
Can I just add on that's a thought that I had was when you said that having a hobby, having a passion outside of your career is going to become an important piece on your resume. I don't see every corporate world doing that, but I think that the employers that do recognize that will become more, that will be kind of seen as a benefit, or like Andrew's saying, like, here we're offering all these things. We're offering that there is value in your hobbies. That I could see, that could be a way, but I don't see every corporation valuing that but the ones that are smart will. Yeah.
No, I think especially with how big the millennial class is, I mean, that's the largest class of people now, bigger than the boomers. They, we've had a lot of our staff are around that age, and just talking with them on it, they want to feel like they're part of something important, like they're making a difference. And I think, Donna, to kind of complement your point on it, is that like, hey, you obviously you're working here for us, we're providing you a paycheck, but you do this other thing, if they help kind of feel accepted, like the employers feeling them accepted on, like I said, they're, a lot of the term now is called side hustles, or what they're doing outside the office. I think that really helps to help keep them, like I said, they want to stick with them, because like, oh, wow, yeah, I might do this for the company, but then, I do art, or I sell this, or I'm involved with this, and they feel involved with it. They're like, yeah, I really want to be here and work here because they really support me more than what they're doing at work.
So let me give you the opposing economic factor, right? Because there's this one, right, where it benefits. And then you have the opposing that says, look, you're going to end up with an entire set of working class that only has surface level knowledge. And you will take that very provocative view of, I can do this and it's fun and it's easy and so forth. And the economic reality that they're posing is that they will actually lose the depth of knowledge in an entire working segment, because there's only surface level knowledge in an entire class, an entire generation of people. So putting that piece forward for you as a business owner, does that change the way you see things? Do you want somebody who has a large depth of defined knowledge, or do you want somebody that has more of a popcorn ball?
I can speak to that. I think that years ago we had, when I worked for the post office, we programmed all the rules and regulations of personnel into a program, thinking that that would assist people. What it did was people started to depend on that. They threw away all the books. They stopped training people. They just set them in front of the computer. And it wasn't fully legal, because you had to make a decision point there. And they started not doing that. Then it caused a lot of problems. But that fact that they stopped training them to do the job because they could use the computer they thought they could use the computer to do the job. You have a whole bunch of people that don't know what they're doing. And I think that right now the gig economy is, I think that the people who are doing it, they know a lot. The last cab driver we had was like, wow. So I think there's still a depth of knowledge out there. It's just different. You might have to have 2 people doing this, and I think that companies have gone out to using gig people to do things, which now they don't need to have that job in their company because they can just do that.
Sure. Danny, I'm going to let you respond to this. You do a lot of gig work. got to unmute for us.
I do a lot of gig work. I have a lot of friends who do a lot of gig work. And as a millennial, it's really challenging to get hired and, you know, be able to look an employer in the eye and go, well, I see myself here in 10 years. Because I don't, because most companies are like, oh, well, we'll pay you $18 an hour. And you have all this other knowledge. And then, you know, you're sitting next to some Gen Zer who's getting paid the same, and they went to college and they might actually be getting paid more. But you're like, but wait a minute. Wait a minute. I can think on my feet, and that's not acknowledged at all. And I think more and more people are starting to realize that millennials had to get side hustles. We had to. We didn't have a choice. Because
Good point. That's a
we weren't getting paid. I don't know very many millennials who own their own house yet, but I know a few Gen Zers who do. And it's like, there's no balance. And I feel like more and more companies are going, wait a minute, you had to learn these other skills in order to survive. Maybe we actually want to pay you and keep you.
Right. I like it. Michelle, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I just have a few thoughts. The one thing that's been coming up as I've been listening is that quote about jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes, this is exactly what that conversation is.
But the full quote is jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And I think that speaks to what Danny's talking about, is that when you are self-employed, when you are working gig economies, you learn to think on your feet, do things quickly, and have a vast knowledge, even if it's on a surface level, of a lot of different topics. And that may not serve in some purposes, but I actually think personally that it does, because then you kind of know where to go to get the deeper dive. And I don't know that in an employment situation, particularly when your basic needs are not being met, that you have the space to do that, because you are essentially in survival mode if you are working a W-2 job, but your basic needs are not being met. And I think employers, this is a big opportunity for them to shift and look at their employees through a different lens. And there will be ones that do that and do that very well. And there will be ones that probably die.
Right. Danny, you comment?
Yeah, I just want to say I work a W-2 primarily. I have a daughter. I live with my parents. I'm 30 years old. And guess what? Survival mode sucks. It sucks. I've been there for 20 years now.
Right. Marge, I'm going to go on to you. You have your hand
just
raised.
because I that jack of all trades, you know, I'm 100% fall into that. And the one thing from doing many different things, and I literally have had 100 jobs. I can make a list of all the different jobs I've done, because I was graphic design, restaurant owner, realtor, inventor, blah, blah, blah. But it gives me the ability to see things that other people don't see, because now I've been in so many different factories, and I see a correlation that somebody else doesn't. And having this experience with being self-employed, you want the stability of knowing there's this stability factor, but also allowing people to run with things a bit themselves. And, it's learning over time, but your life can be so much more interesting, but you still need the stability. And somehow what's really going to have to change in America is not having insurance tied to a paycheck, tied to a company. It's really hard on businesses, because they get tons of expenses that you don't know of. You say you're paid $18 an hour, but I have a friend who pays $53 per employee, and they do get $20, right? And then there's this feed, this tax, this, and running the operation and housing the building. You know, it's just, there's expenses people don't know, but I also see from, you know, I see from the bottom end up how disconnected this is. So, and you see it too, Vicki. I know you do. And Michelle.
Oh, I do. And so here's where I want to kind of land that. And I put it in the chat box, right? Because this is where it has to go to you. It has to go to you and your nucleus. And that is, how does the gig economy become a business sales generation partner, right? That exactly what Marge had said of, right? How do I invite people to a gig, right? That they can do on their other part-time, right? That you have these two opposing conversations in the world, the meta narrative. But how does the gig economy become a business sales generating partner? And I'll use Andrews as an example, because you have some limitations on what you can pay out, right? That if somebody hands you a referral, your licensor doesn't just allow you to write them a check. So you're going to have to find some other ways, right, to use the gig economy to become that generation partner, not just a marketing partner, right? So you're the largest pickle on this.
Well, yeah, but what it ultimately is letting me down. I'm licensed now in 12 states and probably be licensed in 20 states. So it's opened more doors for me outside the Minneapolis, St. Paul metro area in Wisconsin, which is mainly where most of my business are. But now I got clients in Tennessee, Florida, California, Georgia. I even got one, I'm global. I have one in Tokyo, Japan right now. So, I mean, that's when you have to start thinking a little bit bigger. And now you start getting involved in some of these areas. Like I got a few down in Florida and looks like I might get a few more. It's like, hey, great. Same thing like Las Vegas area. So it's like, hey, I might start becoming a known name in some of these other areas where instead of like just being around here, it's like, well, I can really expand because Zoom now is the new people. We've had Zoom for 6-7 years. It wasn't for the last 3 years that we really became popular in using. And now people are getting comfortable with like being able to get business done without necessarily have to sit face to face. So
can I respond to that?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let me solve it differently for you. Okay, so you can't pay someone because of your licensure, but what you can do is you can make a partnership deal, right? That says, hey, so-and-so, you're in Houston, I'll pay your office expense to do sales, to do intake, to do something else. I'll put my assistant there and they can do intake and they can do something else. And they also have something else that they can build from, right? That they now have an office space, that they now have something else to do and you can play within your rules.
Well, it's greater. I don't have to pay people now. Now what I do is I have referral partners that can work nationwide. And so it's opened a new door of people I can do business with because it's like, hey, I need someone. After this, I got a Zoom meeting down for someone in Ames, Iowa. And it's like, hey, but she needs a loan. Well, who can I use? I can't use my banks that I have, but guess what? I have commercial loan brokers who can do loans nationally, and it's opened doors. And they've been able to give me referrals because I've been able to refer them. And so that's been part of the fun growth on it, is just like new opportunities that come with new markets, if you will.
Right. So Jamie, I'm going to respond to yours about, finding gig partners that make your experience better. And what I'm saying is, as a sales partner, now we can go back to them and say, and here's a finder's fee. Here's a way for them to make money by again, bringing sales back to your door.
So part of that is that if I partner with like a promoter or whatever, I give them a code. They're able to take that code and either offer discounts or whatever not, and then they get a portion of those sales that come to me from what they refer me from too.
Right, exactly, right? How do we make that gig economy come right back to your nucleus? Marge, I see your hand raised.
Rubbing my eye. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. I'm going to go back to sharing screen because I gave you guys a lot to think about. And this is a thought exercise. That is the point of it. This is normally a 3-hour class for us. And when you're doing this on your own, you're going to take something in this bubble, this economic reality I used. You could put in here the conversation around green, right? How do we take a conversation that's much larger, a much larger reality, a meta narrative, a Greta Thunberg conversation, and add it into your thinking. This last one is very quick. I'm just going to show it to you because we've got to kind of tidy us up a little bit. But this is what the reality is. Michelle, I'm going to let you read the reality that's here.
On the left?
On the right, by 2020.
Right. By 2050, up to half of today's 5-year-olds can expect to live for 100 years. This might mean that 60-year careers become standard according to the new research. It calls for momentous and creative changes to current norms, policies, and social institutions, which evolved when people lived only half as long as they do now.
Right. So, right, one of the other pieces that's coming up here, right, is, right, how would your business, how would your voice, how with what you are having change, right, this crisis into an opportunity, right? That people are living longer. They're going to have a 60-year career now. That Danny's daughter will be actively participating in a regular economy, a gig economy, a career path, an education arc that now lasts 60 years. How is that different? Is it a crisis? Is it an opportunity? Marge, I see your hand. Is your hand really raised?
Right. Well, when I read 60-year career, it sounds like 60 years at the same job would be horrific, like doing the same thing. I was a driver examiner for 3 years, two different times. So I gave road tests, and I can still give you the entire road test today. And I haven't done that for almost 40 years. I was 21 when I quit giving road tests because it's just, you're going around a track all day. So anyway, I just think that the excitement of having many different things and the more you can do with, if you love what company you're with, if you always let them know you want to learn and expand and evolve with them to keep them growing, there's always going to be that opportunity. And it's going to be up to us to it's going to be up to the person to kind of drive forward. You're not going to get stuck with jobs if you drive forward how you can help and what ideas and what you're willing to do.
Right. So I put in the word Gabor Mate into the chat box because he's an example of somebody who has a very long career. And so you see him taking his body of knowledge and starting with childhood trauma, moving to addiction, doing a 20-year stint in both. And now you see him on his third, which is really aging. So what we will see is in these lifelong pieces is that many of you will have deep, meaningful bodies of work that are completely different, right? And in chaos theory, right, that's that building piece. And if someone can live long enough to have all of these different parts of their career, somehow we'll see a new nucleus of ideas come around. Because you did this job and this job and this job and this job and learned this here and did this here and saw this here, you will change the arc and the availability of thought. And that will create technology and lifestyles and everything to move at a much faster pace. Hence chaos theory, right? That you will see these small changes start to build very large defined economic outcomes that are greatly different. Okay, Danny, I see your hand raised and then I'm going to go to Marge.
So 2 pieces. Ella is probably going to have a 60-year career. So she's not very good with chaos theory. She's just not. But I'm trying to instill in her that, yes, you're really good at math. I get it, but you also need to be really good at, like being spatially aware, kid. And so just like learning the world around you. And so that is a big part of my business, is I want to get kids involved. I want them to know what dirt smells like. You can know what dirt tastes like, if you really want. But I really want to stress the fact that it's important to look at not just who's working now, but who's going to come after them. Which we talk about all the time in especially eco-friendly things, save the planet, who comes next. But it also applies to our economy. Like, who's going to be there when we can't work anymore? And then another thing is, when you take away learning and you bring it just to a certain demographic of people, where you're like, oh, we don't need to talk about 10-year-olds right now, they're not working. That's not necessarily true. They might be in school, but that's still a job to them. Right. And so why can't we bring learning how to work into education, instead of, you need to know this because you're going to go to college and then you're going to do this? That's not how our life works anymore.
Very good point. Good point. Marge, I'm going to go to you, and then I'm going to go back to the screen.
Just real quick, riffing off of hers, is absolutely, that's what needs to start young, is the theory of this little level of responsibility, and not just being chaos, but also what Karen put in the chat at the same time, and looking at this Gabor, never heard of the guy, but health, I'm 60, I have arthritis. Health, being responsible for your own health is going to be a huge deal. And it really is what we're missing in school. If they take away phy-ed, if they take away nutrition, it should absolutely be the healthiest or the wealthiest. You hear that? If you aren't in good health, it becomes an overwhelming factor in everything you do and how your mindset is. So to me, if we're going to live to 100 years, good God, you want them to be good, right? And so that's just such a big thing. So healthcare and taking care of and learning, so wellness coaches and all that it will be a thing. I mean, a permanent thing, because people don't, I was not raised on the right food, damn General Mills. I mean, save all those box tops you want and eat a whole bunch eat all your bread and carbs and never learn to eat well. So anyway.
Right. I agree. And so there is the big conversation from that question, right? So when we're looking at thought bubbles for you as you go forward in chaos theory, right? So here we are from here, right? 100-year-old opportunity. The world is changing. The young people you're hiring are going to be able to have vast different conversations, and that you yourself will have a vast new conversation. When we look at, how do we do this? And we have to finish with really asking new questions, looking at your thought bubbles differently, changing what's in there, right? What if I changed this bubble here into new unlimited resources, right? What if all of the resources you wanted were unlimited? What if we could look at faster time and then apply it to your nucleus? So when you're looking at chaos theory for your take home, this is what you're going to want to do, is kind of screw around with these thought bubbles, and that you want to pull it back to your business idea or the things that you are interested in. But these get to be anything. I just chose economic reality because that's one that none of you are thinking in. And then really looking at the who, why, what, where, right? You're going to build a kind of a definition inside these thought bubbles. And that's why it's a 3-hour class. Time is the key when you're looking at things. Oh, here, do you want me to turn this back? I saw you starting to screenshot. Yes, screenshot. It's so helpful to screenshot. Time is going to be the key for you if you're trying to take a thought bubble to an outcome. is that's where I would really start to confine the ideation, is to say, I need this, let's do this thought bubble in the next 1 year, 5 year, 10-year trajectories. For those of you who have taken other classes, when we look at resources in your bubble, you'll go back to the 10 types of capital. So that could be talents and partnerships. I could see that really happening for Jamie, and that would be very much you, talents and partnerships, and it could be technology. So going back to the 10 forms of capital will be really helpful. The takeaway that I'm hoping that you'll have is that you'll see that there's value in evolving your navigation compass, in how you measure what you're thinking about and how you're thinking about it. This was an intellectual, conversation on how to access new ways of thought. If you felt stumped, you were supposed to, really have someone push you to form a new paradigm of thought, because you need to, and we all need to. And then, right, it is using action to change things. When we do this in real life, right, because I've been doing this a long time in pulling a mind into abstract thinking. What I'll do is I'll just show you one of the activities that we do. So this is one, some of you may know this grouping, but this is a chiropractic firm, and I will frequently do what I call the miniature railroad conversation. This is located in a town not far from us, but I take them to the abstract conversation. Here is a miniature railroad. Let's walk around it. Let's take a look, and so forth. And then we'll say, now I need you to tell me how this tiny railroad and all of its parts is how your business works. And what is very interesting is, out of the two of these leaders, one thought the railroad, the engine that ran everything around and around the track, was the customers, and the other one thought the railroad that ran the track and made everything work was the doctor. Wow, two different ways of thinking about the same problem, right? What is it that makes our business run? Is it the customers? Is it the doctors? And so this is where chaos theory is very helpful for you, is that you have to take it to a new paradigm. You have to look at the parts very differently. And then they had to sit there and talk about why they thought that was the way that they ran their business and what that meant for them. So my other piece for you, again, is to remind you, right, that it's being connected to a fluctuation of patterns, that there's an ebb and flow of energy. And when you are doing that, so this part, right, connected to a pattern, tuned in, tapped in, this is the chaos theory. This is understanding the chaos portion of this, is there's an ebb and flow of energy, that the pattern fluctuates. There are different opinions. There's opposing views. There's a different nucleus. You have to land it somewhere different. And then we have the prosperity piece, which is the alignment of resources and actions, right? Because we want to magnify specifically. We want to magnify specifically. And here's the other piece that I remind you of, is one, that you are all brilliant in your own nucleus. You know your business better than anyone else. You know it better than anyone else. And what we're learning today is we're realigning problems with new questions. And then we're coming to them with a place of power and understanding. And that's your nucleus, right? That you have all the power and understanding of how you do business. And we're just realigning the problems and the questions. And then you're coming to it from that nucleus. Okay, for those of you who are from monetary identity, that these are also going to come back to your values. So if you want to screenshot this for later before I pull it off, this is how you will connect that knowledge back to that class by just asking those questions. if you got a journal topic, I think Karen sent them out again this morning, but these are other abstract ways to start getting you to chaos theory, is by just journaling on one of these two items. And those are in your mailbox, so you can screenshot them or not. Okay, we are 5 minutes over. I want to see what you're taking away with you. So just round quick. Was this of value?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Was it harder than you were used to?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let me just start with Mike. What are you taking away from today? You're on mute. Okay, I'll go to Danny then. Danny, what are you walking away with?
That I need to remember that my most powerful part of my business is teaching children, is getting, because I thrive in child chaos. I'm 30, but I'm like really maybe 10. And I love being messy. So thriving and teaching kids that it's okay to be sticky or dirty or go out in the forest just because it smells better.
Good. Okay, I gotta round robin us fast. Okay, Michelle, quickly, what's your takeaway? Was this helpful?
Yeah, this was a lot. And I, looking at the handouts that Karen printed out, I'd like to take what we talked about here and do in particular the examples of how my heroes showcase into the world creatively. I like that concept a lot.
Yeah, good. Marge, what are you taking from today?
That it's always that people don't think like me and don't see the opportunities that could be. And sometimes, you got to lead people to where what you need, that there's a place for all this talent, and what they can help with and maybe grow with you. Be more of a mentor.
Good, I agree. Okay, Sandy, what are you walking away with?
Well, I think it was just the basic chaos theory of making a small change will have a big impact, either good or could be good or bad. And the thought of having somebody that could help me with communicating, that kind of thing, just I push back because it is like, I think of it as, oh, this is going to be really time consuming. This is really going to take a long time to train this person, but it would really help me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a mathematical equation for that. Okay, Jamie, if you're able to log in, we want to hear what you have to say. Let us know if you can. It just says connecting.
Connecting to audio for a long time, so yeah. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Well, if you do get connected, let us know. Donna, what are you walking away with?
Well, I mean, I can't say, core value of clarity. This is also very confusing. Also, core value of creativity. I'm probably closer to this concept than I'm letting myself be. So I'm still processing it.
Good. This is a big process. Andrew, what are you walking away with?
Yeah, see, this is what I love this group, is that we're very engineer type thinkers and processes and systems. I like hearing the responses that we get from more of the creatives, if you will. The more artistic people, just to see how they think and especially how they approach this topic. So it kind of gets me thinking like, all right, well, I got to start thinking, where are they coming from? And so I always like kind of analyzing that after these meetings on it. So just kind of the responses of everyone else was really fascinating to me.
Good. Okay, well, can I give you what, Karen, what are you taking away?
Well, I think everybody needs to ask themselves the question, what if? Or maybe I could, because I think that's what this is leading to, that you just dispense with all of that and just say, what if? What if the world was this way? And so that's what I think.
Yeah. Michelle, did I go to you? What are you taking away today?
You did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah, what? I was talking about
Oh yeah, the thing, the hero.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and on that journal thing, if you don't journal, I'm not going to say you should, but if you feel like having an intelligent conversation, having one with yourself in a journal is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Word to the mother. Word to the mother. Well, here's what I'd like you to take away is that we are often, we are confined to a way of thought that is based on the past that may or may not help us. That you must open your thought process to thinking in new paradigms as a thought exercise, not necessarily as it has to be this thing that applies to my business right now, but as a thought exercise. And Karen's point of what if, right? What if this is happening? How can I be part of that? To open up your thought exercise and make your brain hurt a little bit will give you the opportunity to see some new things, to fill in some gaps, to question the reality that you think is correct. And that is the benefit for you. So this is one that will be recorded. You can go back and watch it again. We will have the audio version of this. And I think the audio version in the Secret podcast is sometimes easier because it's not forcing you guys to all respond. You can just hear the concepts again and hear them from a little different perspective. And I also want to take away that you guys are really a wide variety of people, and that's kind of fun. That is kind of fun. All right, any last questions for me?
Great.
Be well.
Thanks,
we worked hard today. We worked hard.
Good work, Mickey.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Good luck, everyone. Have a good month.
Yes, I'll see you next month. Bye.
Thanks, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye, Jamie, wherever you are.
She's crossing the border back into the US.